All right, guys, it is time for episode 3 of the Average Fantasy Cast. The crew is back, minus Joe. Hopefully he can join us here. We'll see. But looking a little different. I'm a little scruffy. I look like you guys right now. Normally in the television world, I have to be clean cut, but I've had some time off, so got the scruff going. It's gonna have to go, and I got the clear frame glasses. I was feeling a little bit relaxed here, gentlemen, but it's gonna get hot and heavy because we're going to do some debating with the NFC West. We're going to debate players. We're going to debate ADP. It's going to be fun. So I expect it to get a little testy and feisty, so it should be fun. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first topic I want to debate with you two is tight end. I know people, we talk about Travis Kelce versus George Kittle. Clearly the top two tight end options in fantasy football. According to ESPN, Travis Kelce going pick 18 roughly, late second round. George Kittle, his ADP is 23rd, which puts him in the third round of a 10-team player league. Gentlemen, I want to know, Kelce or Kittle, let go.
Well, I'm going to take Kittle. In that debate between the two of them. I know both of them are obviously dominant tight ends in the league. And, if you look at Kelce, you got, Patrick Mahomes back there slinging it. I just think with the Chiefs offense, they have so many weapons that Kelce could get a little overlooked. So my pick is Kittle in that situation just because he's going to be more of a dominant factor on San Francisco's team rather than Kelce on the Chiefs.
I disagree.
Completely different.
I am a Kelce guy through and through. He has helped get me to championships 2 years in a row. If you look at last season, Kelce, he saw 253 total points in the year, and that was without Patrick Mahomes for a 2 or 3 game stretch. He put up 97 receptions on almost 1,300 yards with 5 touchdowns. And actually 253 was a 40-point drop-off for him. But you add in Mahomes being healthy for not 16 but 17 games this year, Kelce is going to light up the scoreboard once again, and it's a no-brainer. Kelce before Kittle.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Travis Kelce's got Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football. He only caught 5 touchdown passes. It's Travis Kelce. Don't get me wrong. George Kittle he's a beast. He's a stud. But when you have Patrick Mahomes throwing you the ball in an offense where Clyde is going to be the starting rookie running back, they're going to throw the ball more. It's Travis Kelce all the way, my friend. All right. We're gonna stick with the NFC West all episode long. Yeah, you laugh it off. You know what? You're 0 for 1. But you know what? Board bet. Travis Kelce will finish ahead of George Kittle. You want to take that bet, Fleck? You ready?
Yeah, I'll take that bet.
All right, there's our second board bet of the season. This podcast brought to you by 2 Cups, of course. Make sure you buy their merch. 2 Cups board bets. They're gonna happen all season long. Alrighty, guys. We're gonna stick, of course, in the NFC West all episode long. We take a look at the quarterback position. This is an interesting debate. Russell Wilson versus Kyler Murray. 2 great quarterbacks. Kyler, of course, young and up and coming. Russell Wilson has been a superstar in this league for quite some time. Now, a lot of people are saying that Kyler Murray could be the next Lamar Jackson in terms of having a breakout year. Kyler Murray currently on ESPN being drafted as QB5 at pick 55. Russell Wilson at pick 48. He is QB4. Bob, are you taking Russell Wilson, or are you believing the hype that Kyler Murray will surpass him as the best fantasy quarterback in the NFC West?
Yeah, despite recent viral videos that Russell Wilson has put out with a new alter ego, I'm still taking Russ. He is just true every single season of just being dominant. He has one of the best deep balls in the league now with DK Metcalf going into a second season. He's a great target to take the top off of any defense. Match that with Tyler Lockett, who's a great slot guy and a very big red zone target. Adding Greg Olsen with bringing Will Dissly back at the tight end position just all around brings that offense to, in my opinion, a more complete offensive unit than what Arizona brings. Not to mention Kyler Murray was running for his life almost every play he dropped back last season. I believe in Russell Wilson as the third quarterback going in any draft in any league. So I would take Murray slightly after that, maybe Watson before Murray, but I'm definitely a Wilson guy.
Listen, I get it. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks are the more complete football team, but I don't care about that when it comes to fantasy football. My issue with Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they run the ball too much. They love Chris Carson. They love Rashad Penny. They drafted J.J. Dallas. They run the football more than just about any team in the NFL. They're always top 5 in rushing attempts. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, they're going to be playing from behind. Their defense isn't that great. So Kyler's going to be slinging the rock. And, hey, DeAndre Hopkins is a beast. So you know what? I get it. I get the hype here. I think Kyler Murray, you know what, when it's all said and done, he's going to have a better season than Russell Wilson. They're going to throw the ball more. Yeah. He's going to run the ball even more. I don't believe in Kenyon Drake. Kyler Murray is going to put the Arizona Cardinals on his back. I will bet on it.
No. First off, Kyler Murray cannot do shit when he's on his back for half the plays in a series, all right? So last year, he took a league-high 48 sacks. All right, how are you going to be slinging the ball when you're getting sacked?
With releases.
No, and I know you're not a big Kenyon Drake fan, and we've talked about that with our bet, but
overrated.
Kenyon Drake is going to be a beast this year. He's going to finish top 12 as far as fantasy backs go. But no, Russell Wilson over Kyler Murray any day of the week. You take the consistency. You know that when Russell Wilson's got the ball in his hand, he's scrambling around, or if he's sitting back in the pocket, he's going to make something happen with it. Kyler Murray's still young. Yeah. He's still young. He had a good, solid first year. I will give you that. But going into year 2, even with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, Russell over Kyler Murray any day.
I also like on Twitter, Russell Wilson this offseason has been very outspoken about wanting to throw the ball more, wanting to do more of a Chiefs-like offensive scheme. Plus, Rashad Penny's not going to be on the team this year. He's on the PUP list. So Chris Carson's really their only viable running back, and he's a pound-the-ball kind of guy. They're going to sling that rock, man. They're set up for it, and I like Russell Wilson over Kyler Murray.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to remember this. So another 2 Cups bet. I'm in on Kyler Murray. You two are going with the bet and Russell Wilson. So that'll be a fun one to shake out. We'll stick with the Seahawks. This is another one that I think a lot of people are curious in fantasy. From a receiver standpoint, do you take Tyler Lockett, the speed threat, or do you take chiseled ab man DK Metcalf? I mean, we all remember the post of him getting drafted by Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll ripped his shirt off. You know, the dude is one of the oldest coaches in the league. Listen, Pete, you don't compare to DK. DK is a chiseled menace, monster, beast. Fleck, are you drafting Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf? Currently, Tyler Lockett is the preferred choice for many ESPN fantasy goers. Do you like Tyler Lockett, or would you rather have Metcalf?
I personally would take Metcalf in that situation. I know, right now everybody's thinking that Lockett's the number 1 there in Seattle. However, Metcalf is young and he's still got a lot to prove. He had a solid year last year, but I think once they get settled into the season, you're going to see Russell slinging it to Metcalf a little more than Lockett. And Metcalf's the obvious choice.
Metcalf, the obvious choice?
Yeah.
Wow.
I disagree. I am a Tyler Lockett guy all the way. He was a sleeper pick for me last year, and it paid off in dividends. He was fairly consistent, had like a 3-game slump, but that was mostly because...
It was more than 3 games.
It was about 3 games where he scored less than 8 points, and 2 of those were against the 49ers. So, I mean, what are you going to do against one of the best front 7 in the league? But last year, Tyler Lockett was Russell Wilson's favorite red zone target, which might confuse some people, but with the absence of Will Dissly, that makes sense to me. He was one of the first receivers in league history to give his quarterback a perfect QBR when targeted, and that was in 2018. And he's only built off of that. He had 110 targets last year with 82 receptions with over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns, or 7 red zone touchdowns, 8 total last year. And so he's just going to build off of that, and he's going to have less double teams with DK Metcalf on the other side. So I'm going to take the guy who Russell Wilson has absolute trust in over the second-year guy coming out of Ole Miss.
No, I'm sorry. I think Tyler Lockett has seen his better days. I think Russell Wilson, you look at Tyler Lockett down the stretch last year. Week 12, 4.8 fantasy points. Week 13, Tyler Lockett scored as many fantasy points as I did. He had 0 points. Didn't have a single catch against the Vikings. Against the Rams, 8.3 points. Week 15, he has a big week. Then week 16,
what was that big week? Hold on, what was that big week? 26
points.
Right.
One big game down the stretch.
Look at the first 12 games of the season, Tommy.
That's pathetic.
You are just pleading to an agenda right now.
No.
He posted at least 26 points in 3 games and a 40 bomb.
DK Metcalf, down the stretch, 4 of his 5 final games in the fantasy playoffs, he was in double digits. Give me consistency. Give me DK Metcalf.
4 games is consistency? Defenses started scheming against Lockett. That's what happens in the NFL.
Because you know what? He's tiny. He's fast. Listen, Tyler Lockett.
So Tyreek Hill's not a viable fantasy option.
Give me the
That's
upside
weird.
of DK Metcalf. He has got the look and the feel of a receiver one. This dude has the chance to explode. He had 900 yards and 7 touchdowns in his rookie year.
He scored
Tyler
one.
Lockett had
He
what?
scored one less touchdown than Lockett
what,
did.
5 or 6? No.
Yeah,
Give me
but
Metcalf. Give me
Metcalf had one. Metcalf had 7 touchdowns last year.
yeah, Lockett had more.
He had one more, 8.
That's still
Metcalf
more.
was a rookie.
You want to sit
he's
here
gonna-
and tell me
he's
that
the only
Tyler
second option
Lockett,
on the team.
tiny little Tyler Lockett,
Especially when
big
they don't have a Chris
Tyler
Carson
Lockett
or Rashad Penny
has
at the end of the
more
year, and they have
upside.
to sign Marshawn Lynch to help limp them to the playoffs. Obviously,
What
they're
does
going to take out the
Marshawn
number
Lynch
1
have
threat
to do with anything right now?
because the
We're
only
talking
viable threat
DK
on offense
Metcalf
was Lockett,
versus
so the
Tyler
defense was
Lockett.
going to focus on him.
Give
With
me
a healthy team, give me Lockett the whole time.
DK Metcalf was the go-to receiver in the playoffs for the Seahawks. Did you see what he did against the Eagles? He destroyed them last year.
Like I
Russell
said,
Wilson
it's defensive
has identified
scheming.
DK
When there are
Metcalf
only one good
as
option
his-
on the
as
team
his-
and they take him out, what else is Russ going to do? Not look at a second option in Metcalf? He's not Trubisky. Russell can make reads when a defense locks down their one receiver. He's going to find the open man.
One-on-one coverage, who are you throwing to? DK Metcalf or tiny little Tyler Lockett?
It depends on the route.
Oh, stop
No,
it.
Metcalf
Zone,
Lockett.
zone, Lockett's the better route runner. If you're just going to do a streak, obviously throw to the 6'3" guy.
Listen, DK Metcalf, receiver one upside. Tyler Lockett,
Agree to disagree.
yeah, agree to disagree. Whatever, we're moving on. I love DK. He's going to be a beast. My buddy Dylan Camella is fixated on getting him from my fantasy team. We'll see if that happens, Dylan. All right, we're moving on. I like this. This is fun. We need to keep doing stuff like this more often. We're going back to the 49ers here because I know that we're in disagreement about this as well. So viewers, get ready. This is just going to get heated as well again. Running back of choice for the 49ers. Raheem Mostert, him and his agent, they renegotiated a deal with the 49ers. So he's a happy camper again. Remember, what he did in the playoffs was just absolutely, he took a crap on the Green Bay Packers is what he did. The Green Bay Packers got embarrassed by a former running back.
Chicago Bears practice squad guy.
On the practice squad. Just humiliated. He ran for what, like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns? It was unreal.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable. Raheem Mostert's back. Matt Breida's out. He's a Miami Dolphin. Sorry, Matt. Tevin Coleman is back. Tevin Coleman had a couple nice games. And then Jerick McKinnon, he might play if his body allows him to play.
Who knows?
Who knows? But we're going to debate Mostert and Coleman because those are going to be the two alpha males in the backfield, so to speak. So right now, Mostert is going RB28. Tevin Coleman is going RB40. Bob, who do you like? Do you like Coleman or do you like Mostert?
So in the long run, throughout the course of the season, I'm a Coleman guy. And let me tell you why. Raheem Mostert didn't get his shot until Coleman was injured last year. All right. And even in the playoffs, when Coleman, their first game against the Vikings, he was the guy. He had 22 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown. And he beat Mostert for carries and average play time. That game got tweaked early against the Packers. And that's when Mostert popped off. And I think the scheme that the 49ers run, any running back's going to be fine as long as they're fast. And so Shanahan brought Coleman in specifically from Atlanta where he was the offensive coordinator to fit his play style. And I think that he is going to be the guy if he is healthy and can maintain consistency. Even the most carries Mostert got towards the end of the season when he was the starting back was 15 carries a game. And for me, that's not enough for somebody who I want to be an RB1. And I think Shanahan does like to use running back by committee, but I think Coleman will be that running back that he wants to use every game if he's healthy.
I don't think so.
But Mostert made the most out of those touches, though. In the last 9 games of the season, he had, 13 touchdowns on 850 yards? He might not have had that many
6
touches.
yards a carry when he was healthy on that offense.
I don't know. He's hungry. He's got something to prove. And they're going to give him the opportunity.
Coleman.
He's going
younger.
to ball out.
He loves Shanahan's system. Shanahan brought him in specifically. I also think Jerick McKinnon is a sneaker. If he could be healthy, they paid him to come to that team.
Oh, yeah. If he could be healthy, for sure.
So I could
John
even
Lynch
see Jerick
is
McKinnon ending up being the
really
better
regretting that.
Do what?
No, I'm sorry, Bob, but the belief that Tevin Coleman is going to be a fantasy factor, I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. He averaged 4 yards a carry. He was on the Atlanta Falcons. He couldn't sustain that job because, let's be honest, he's not that good. He goes to the 49ers, has 1 or 2 good games, and then he loses his job to a guy that was on the practice squad. Because
you lose a job when you get hurt and can't play. That's what happens in the NFL, Tommy.
No, it's called he had a chance to regain that job, but Raheem Mostert,
and he did in the first playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings,
comes in
and had a good game.
Just lights it up. Raheem Mostert averaged 5.5 yards per carry, second best in the NFL. Like Flex said, he went on a tear to end the year. And you know what? I am all about a great success story. I don't care about Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman is irrelevant. No, Raheem Mostert is the guy. Yeah, you have to pick him as a top 30 back. I don't care because he's going to be the guy. He's going to be a solid RB2. He will give you good production. And listen, he tried to get traded. He said, you pay me or I want out. And the 49ers said, all right, we aren't going to trade you. We're going to pay you. So you think that they're going to pay this man and then just let him on the sidelines? Not a chance.
I didn't say that. I said running back by committee, but I think Coleman will end up being the starting back.
Absolutely not.
No, Mostert's going to be the starting back.
Chance after chance. He's not that good.
As far
as
fantasy,
one season where he was hurt almost a half the season. What do you mean?
He's not that good.
Shanahan brought him from his previous team to play running back for him and got hurt.
Rise to stardom.
No, it just depends on how the 49ers are going to run their offense this year. If they're going to sling the ball a little more, Coleman could have a little more of an impact because if we're being honest, if we're going to pass the ball to either Mostert or Coleman, we're giving it to Coleman.
No. That was his role with Shanahan's offense in Atlanta.
But if the 49ers are going to run the ball,
play action rollouts, Coleman's going to have such a nice time with those.
I'm sure he will.
With Kittle blocking out in front, best blocking tight end in the league.
Coleman would be the better receiving back there, but I think it just depends on what the 49ers are going to do.
Give me the success.
If they're going to run the ball,
the success story.
Mostert is the way. Go.
All right. Well, you know what? Put it 2 cups board bet. Bob thinks Coleman will be better. Fleck and I, we think Mostert. Give me Mostert. Moving on.
Him.
That's fine.
The biggest
I'm the one who tries to trade my team away after every draft, so.
Hey, listen. Drafting is, for all you viewers out there, the draft is just the start. It's the beginning.
But if you have a good team, then it's the whole season.
We'll see. Anyways.
Fantasy tip number 7. Don't trade your entire team away after drafting him.
Trade. Name of the game. Value. Anyways, summer acquisition, the best one. DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals. Bill O'Brien might be the dumbest head coach in the NFL. He's an idiot.
Head coach GM.
On David Johnson's contract. I mean, he's a buffoon. He's a moron. It's a shame. Sean Watson, I'm sorry, but hey, life goes on. Suck it up.
Oh, what could have been?
It's not that great anyways. Hopkins. He is being drafted as the number 2 fantasy receiver. He's going from Deshaun Watson to Kyler Murray. Should be a pretty pass-heavy offense there in Arizona. Fleck, is DeAndre Hopkins worth that heavy price tag? Do you think he's going to be a top 2 fantasy receiver this year?
All right, so DeAndre Hopkins, in general, is a top 3 receiver in the league. All right.
I don't care about the league. I'm talking fantasy football.
Let me get there. He is a top 3 receiver in the league. Now that he's moved to Arizona, all right, Kyler Murray, I know we talked about him earlier in this cast. He's going to be slinging the ball to him. He's obviously going to be his number 1. And DeAndre Hopkins is going to go off this year, all right? He's going to be a top 2 fantasy wide receiver this year behind Michael Thomas. And he's going to be amazing. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about it. Fleck, I hate to break it to you, but I've got a lot of doubt. Here's why. Listen, I get it. I'm big on Kyler. I think the acquisition of Hopkins really helps Kyler from a fantasy perspective. But there's more mouths to feed here in Arizona. And I like, Larry Fitzgerald, I get it. He's not a fantasy god like he was, but he will still get his every now and then. And I do like Christian Kirk. I like Christian Kirk a lot. I think Christian Kirk is the biggest beneficiary of this because I think that's going to really help with Hopkins being there. So I don't think DeAndre Hopkins will necessarily have a top 2 fantasy season compared to Devontae Adams and Julio Jones and Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, or even Mike Evans. I think the opportunity for those guys are much greater than DeAndre Hopkins. I think DeAndre Hopkins will still have a very nice season. I think he will have similar numbers as he did last year. He had over 100 catches, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. But I would much rather have Devontae Adams in a Green Bay Packer offense where it's literally just Devontae Adams. There's nobody else.
Where they run the ball and throw checkdowns?
Who?
The Packers. They just run the ball and throw checkdowns now.
Yeah, well, give me Devontae, give me Julio, give me Tyreek Hill, give me Chris Godwin before I'm taking DeAndre Hopkins.
No.
DeAndre Hopkins will not be on one of my fantasy teams this year, gentlemen, because I'm sorry, I will not take him with a first-round draft.
No, the Cardinals offense.
I think
the Cardinals offense 8 out of the last 11 games of the season scored 3+ touchdowns, and that was without DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah,
You
but
add him
Kyler
into the
Murray
mix.
only threw for 200 yards, or only threw for more than 200 yards once in the last 5 games. Anyway, I
You got
agree
me
with
there.
you, Fleck. I think DeAndre Hopkins, if not the number 2 fantasy receiver, will be the number 3. And let me tell you why. There's only been 2 seasons of his career where he hasn't had at least 1,000 yards receiving, and it was his rookie year and when Brock Osweiler was throwing him the football. All right. People forget that before Deshaun Watson was the quarterback for the Houston Texans, he had shit throwing him the football. Like, I could have been a quarterback for that team, and he would have had 1,000 yards. Like, he's going to show up there, and he's still going to be able to beat anybody one-on-one coverage. He's still one of the best route runners in the league, and there might not be somebody better in the NFL at tracking a football than DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray, if he sees man coverage, he's going to audible to a streak with Hopkins and just throw it up. And 50-50 ball, DeAndre Hopkins, that's really like an 80-20. So I have no reservations drafting DeAndre Hopkins as your wide receiver 1. Not before Michael Thomas, maybe not before Chris Godwin, but DeAndre Hopkins, he's fine. He will be fine. He could be on the Jaguars. He could be on any team right now and still put up 1,000 receiving yards. It doesn't matter.
So do both of you think he will finish as a top 2 fantasy wide receiver where he's being drafted?
At least top 3.
Yeah, at least top 3.
Top 3? All right, you know what? Fine. You know what? I think that DeAndre Hopkins won't finish as a fantasy football receiver this year. He's finishing outside.
I think you're just wrong. He'll be better than Devontae Adams. I mean, even last year, Devontae Adams gets tweaked. Tyreek Hill gets tweaked. DeAndre Hopkins just plays. He just plays, man.
He's a monster.
He's insane. He might be one of the best deep threats going up and getting the football against a corner. He might be one of the best ones since Calvin Johnson, to be completely honest with you, of going up and getting a football.
Oh, listen, I totally get that, but that does not necessarily translate to a top 3 fantasy football year.
Shoot, if Allen Robinson can be a top 7 fantasy wide receiver last year with Mitch Trubisky throwing him the damn football, I'm fine with D-Hop and Kyler Murray.
We'll see. We'll see. All righty, boys, we're rolling through here. I'm trying to think what are other big topics in the NFC West. How about pretty boy Jimmy Garoppolo? You know, he went viral because the whole him and Aaron Andrews thing. Yeah, exactly. Jimmy G was, yeah. Make whatever you want of that. Jimmy G, he was supposed to be the chosen one after Tom Brady left. He gets traded to the Niners. He's been there since. He, quote-unquote, guides them to the Super Bowl. It was my man, Raheem Mostert, who got him there.
I would argue it was the defense that got them there.
It was the defense and Raheem Mostert. But anyways, Jimmy G, he's being drafted as QB 19 this year. Is that too low for Jimmy G? Is he? Could he threaten QB1 numbers this year? Do we like him as a starter for 2 quarterback leagues? Bob, you're already shaking your head no.
No. I would draft any quarterback in that division as a QB1 before him. And I think if you look at last year, I wouldn't draft him. I honestly wouldn't draft him in a league this year and maybe try to pick him up in free agency if he pops off, but he's just too inconsistent on a run-heavy team. Last year, before they traded for Emmanuel Sanders, he was QB 23 in fantasy football rankings. And if you're in a 10-man league, that's not even good enough to be your backup. Once they added Emmanuel Sanders, he was top 8 with their running game going wild and being able to throw play-action rollouts like it was nothing deep post Emmanuel Sanders, except in the Super Bowl when he overthrew him. And so I'd stay away from Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't like it. Maybe pick him up in free agency if he pops off, or maybe draft him as your QB2 if you need somebody. But I would not draft him to be a starting quarterback in fantasy football.
I agree with you, Bob. Jimmy G had 5 games last year where he scored more than 20 points in fantasy. 5 out of the 16. I like him as a franchise quarterback, right? I mean, I would definitely take him if I was a fan of a team as my quarterback.
I would definitely take him.
But I would not draft him for my fantasy team as a quarterback. Maybe see if he pops off, if they want to throw the ball a little more, but he's just too inconsistent. You're right.
He's being drafted over Jared Goff. Agree or disagree with that?
I take Jared Goff over Jimmy Garoppolo.
I think Jared Goff has seen his better years. I think Jimmy G, he's just scratching the surface, gentlemen. If Debo comes back healthy, they've added some nice pieces. You got Trent Taylor. They drafted a receiver, Brandon. I don't even know how to say his name. I don't even care. He'll be good. You know what? Jimmy G, better than Jared Goff. But speaking of the Rams, we haven't talked about the LA Rams.
Tommy, just because the San Francisco 49ers are better than the LA Rams doesn't mean that Jared Goff, or that doesn't mean that Jimmy G is better than Jared Goff. His team might be better, but that doesn't mean he as an individual player is better.
I'm just arguing that Jimmy G is going to have a better fantasy season than Jared Goff, because I think Sean McVay can only do so much. He can only do so much. He can predict plays, or whatever he does.
Run the same play 19 times against the 49ers in the second half of their second game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's some key things we do need to debate with the Rams. Another curious receiver battle. It's Cooper Kupp versus good old Robert Woods. Good old reliable Robert Woods. As Matthew Berry says, my little Cooper Kupp. So this is pretty interesting. They're both being drafted as receiver 2s. Cooper Kupp 18, Robert Woods 19. Their ADPs are separated by 2 picks. So it's basically a toss-up, gentlemen. But for you guys, do you feel like there's one receiver that you would rather have over the other?
I think they're fairly interchangeable in that offensive scheme, but I think the one upside that Robert Woods has is that they run a lot of end-arounds with him. They like to use him in that running game. And especially without Todd Gurley to eat up some carries, even though last year they kind of didn't use him like they should have. Maybe it was his knee. We don't know. But with Cam Akers coming in as a rookie, with 2 running backs who aren't really proven on the roster besides him, I think Robert Woods has more upside if they keep running the kind of same zone run scheme with him doing end arounds, wide receiver screens, things like that. But Cooper has more bust potential, like boom or bust potential. He can really boom in that deep passing game, but I think Robert Woods might be the more consistent guy if he stays healthy.
Yeah, as much as I'm not a big Jared Goff guy, I do love the way Jared Goff treats Cooper Kupp. Him and Cooper Kupp, they have a special connection. Yeah, I get it. Cooper Kupp, he went through the midseason slump, whatever. He didn't catch a pass against the Steelers. Had a rough couple weeks, but I just think without Brandon Cooks, I like Robert Woods, but for me, I just think Cooper Kupp just has that connection with Jared Goff. I can't explain it. They just have that connection. And I've read all this before.
You're using my argument for Tyler Lockett for Cooper Kupp.
DK Metcalf's on Robert Woods isn't DK Metcalf.
Who's the better quarterback, Russell Wilson or Jared Goff?
Russell Wilson, of course.
Okay, and then who has a better connection, Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson, or Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf?
But DK Metcalf.
But
No, this is only Metcalf's second year. He hasn't had time to build that connection yet.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
it's going to be there.
He threw a perfect passer rating with.
Gosh, we're not going back to that. Listen, Matthew Berry's little Cooper Kupp will have a stronger fantasy season with Robert Woods because look, I've read all the stuff and I have to because I drafted Cooper Kupp. I don't have a choice. I have to say.
Fortunately for you.
You know what?
You keep trying to trade him to me too, which is weird.
He's gotten stronger in the offseason.
I mean, either way, if you're taking Kupp or Woods, they're both wide receiver 2 kind of guys for your team. Don't draft them looking for them to be your number 1.
That's right.
They're both wide receiver 2 guys for your fantasy team.
Look at Fleck being.
That's just how it is.
Very good. All righty,
I can see the argument either way, but realistically,
respect. I can.
They're pretty interchangeable.
Last topic that we need to touch on before we sign out of here, and we send our final take shots, whatever. Running back situation with the Rams. They draft Cam Akers in the second round. Bob is high on him. He thinks he could be a nice little rookie addition this year. But I'm curious, are we sold on Cam Akers? He's the running back 29 in ESPN fantasy leagues. That puts him as an RB3/flex play. Darrell Henderson not far behind him at 33. Malcolm Brown's in the mix. Don't really think he's going to be relevant. Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers. We already know what Bob's going to say, so let him think. I want to hear Fleck, Cam Akers or Darrell Henderson.
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I get kind of wary drafting rookies right off the bat, especially at the running back position. I mean, obviously guys like Zeke, Saquon, a little different. They're just built different, you know. So I honestly don't really have an opinion between the two. I'm not taking either one of them as my RB1. So
well, of course you're not.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on this one, if I'm being honest.
You know what? Don't really have a great feeling about this, but for some reason, Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson. Because, listen, Sean McVay was asked about the running back room, and the first name that came out of his mouth wasn't Malcolm Brown, wasn't Cam Akers, it was Darrell Henderson. You know what? Darrell Henderson is going to get the first crack at this. He's going to get another chance. He does return kicks. He does return punts from time to time. He wasn't fully healthy last year, so, you know, and they were a mess with the whole Todd Gurley thing and having to manage his knee. And, but you know what? I have a weird feeling that Darrell Henderson actually might have a decent season. And he actually might be a more viable play than Cam Akers this year. Now, down the road, I think Cam Akers is probably the better play, maybe year 2. But for this year, I'm going to argue that give Darrell Henderson another look. Give him a chance. Bob's like, no.
Maybe as a handcuff for Cam Akers if he gets hurt.
Oh, give me.
But otherwise, I wouldn't draft Darrell Henderson for my fantasy football team. I like Cam Akers. They drafted him in the second round for a reason. If you look at the running back history in the Rams, pretty much anybody can be successful in that scheme. Todd Gurley last year had his moments on one knee. C.J. Anderson got picked up when Gurley got hurt at the end of their Super Bowl run and popped off. You know, I think McVay, to his credit, is a really good run scheme guy once he gets his offensive line right. And I think that Cam Akers, especially second half of the season, can really help some teams make a playoff push. I wouldn't draft him as an RB1 or 2 off the rip, but if you can get him about where his ADP is at and stash him as an RB3 flex play who could pop off at the end of the season, I think that he is a low-risk, high-reward kind of guy, especially in dynasty formats. You can definitely draft him and hold on to him for 2-3 years. And even if he has a good late half of the season, you could try to trade him in the offseason for a more consistent back or maybe some draft picks. But I definitely really like Cam Akers and the fit with the LA Rams.
All right.
If you're in a dynasty league, yeah, Cam Akers probably the play there.
I can get behind that. Well, gentlemen, final thoughts on any players that we didn't touch on with the NFC West? Any players or?
I mean, I could always go back to the Kenyon Drake thing.
we're not going. We already. We're not opening up that can of worms again.
Low risk, high reward player. Last couple rounds of the draft. If you need a tight end 2 or 3, definitely look at Jordan Reed. He just got picked up by the 49ers, and Shanahan loves tight end plays, especially athletic tight ends like Jordan Reed. And the last season that he was healthy, he had 87 catches for about 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. 11 touchdowns as a tight end. And that was with the Washington football team. And so I definitely
very good.
Reed.
Very good.
Thank you. Late in your drafts, or maybe even free agency, if he's not picked up, you could grab him and stash him, especially if George Kittle ever goes down and he is healthy. He'll be a great tight end to play, especially matchup-wise.
I can get behind that.
It's a good take.
If Jordan Reed, I mean, we all feel bad for the dude. I mean, he suffers at least a concussion or 2 a season. It's just one of those unfortunate things. So
I'd maybe not throw over the middle to him if I were Shanahan. Keep him on
maybe.
the outsides maybe. But yeah, I think he definitely could be a really good stasher.
Throw some balls in the flat, let him run out of bounds. He doesn't take any hits. Maybe. But he's a good hand. I agree. Low risk, high reward. Well, gentlemen, it's a lot of fun. The debates was heating up. Our viewership was begging for some fights and some intensity, and I think that they will be happy with our collective performances today. So make sure, as always, follow us on Twitter, tweet at us, DM us questions. We didn't get any viewer questions this week. Really bummed out by that. We enjoy when we do get that interaction on Twitter. Subscribe with us on YouTube as well. The Average Fantasy Podcast. So far, so good. But make sure, of course, with 2 Cups, because they are our proud sponsor, get their merchandise. We've hopefully got some Average Fantasy Podcast gear coming on the way. I know Griffin has told us that he is working on something. So as soon as we get details on that, we will make that public, and we'll hopefully get your interest there. So thanks for tuning in. For me, signing off with Jacob Fleck and Bob Gerwin. Have a good one, everybody.